Well, we've all been given back the freedom of unlimited daily outdoor exercise, which I'm sure we're all so grateful for. But the new plans have exposed, as you were saying, some glaring contradictions. The Ministry of Truth has revised its Newspeak slogan from "Stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives" to "Stay alert, control the virus and save lives." Now, I'm glad that they have started to de-weaponise the health service, which is something I thought was politically reprehensible when we've got certain groups of people referring to the NHS as Britain's new religion. I've got a quote from Sky News here. The 50-page COVID-19 recovery strategy also reveals the fear in government that the winter flu poses a unique threat this year when combined with coronavirus. It says people without COVID-19 are likely to have symptoms that resemble COVID-19, leading to increasing demand for hospital beds and impeding efforts to trace the virus. Now, considering that there's a great number of deaths occurring in hospitals and care homes, do you think that the NHS has made things better or worse? And what do you think of their response in general?
Well, the NHS as an organisation, I think their response has not been ideal. And that's not the fault of any individual doctor or nurse or someone who works within a hospital. The people that are delivering the frontline services, in my opinion, are on the whole doing a really, really good job in really, really tough circumstances. But they are let down by the awful system that they work within. So I essentially work as a civilian contractor for the police, and I get to see some of the strange things that they do, and the way the procurement processes run, and the way that, you know, management sometimes gets in the way and really makes it very, very hard for people at the front line to do a good job. So, like, for example, the PPE problems that the NHS has been having. Well, I read a report from the Army. One of the generals in charge of logistics within the Army was basically saying there is enough PPE within the NHS. It's just being poorly distributed and it's being misallocated by NHS logistics. And the Army should step in and take over the running of NHS logistics, because there's one thing the Army knows how to do, and that's run logistics, because that's vital to everything that they do. And to me, that makes a lot of sense, because these big organisations, and to be fair, this doesn't just apply to the public sector, this applies to any large organisation. Once it gets to a certain size, it collapses under the weight of its own bureaucracy, because people's roles become so specialised and so entrenched in this very tiny little world. They don't see the bigger picture, and also they don't want to take responsibility for the bigger picture, because it's easier to pass that on to someone else. And when you have series of people that don't want to take responsibility because it's easier to pass that responsibility to someone else, you get indecision and you get loads of pointless bureaucratic processes being created, so that should something go wrong in the future, they are not accountable for that thing going wrong, which I find crazy, because even if they were to be held accountable, the chances of there being serious comeback on that is really, really low, unless you're criminally negligent. You know, I can expect you to get a slap on the wrist or, you know, loss of a bonus or whatever, but you're not going to go to jail because, you know, you've made a bad decision. But for some reason, big organisations get people entrenched in this way of thinking they don't want to take responsibility, or someone else should take responsibility, because what happens if it goes wrong? And then you just end up with these convoluted, complicated processes where everything takes forever, and the customer, whoever that be, obviously in the case of the NHS it's people that are sick, just gets let down by this bureaucratic nonsense. And I'm sure pretty much everyone who's listening to this has come into contact with a big organisation somewhere, be it the NHS or a big shop or the train companies or whatever. You've just got lost in a bureaucratic web of nonsense because you don't quite fit the very specific and very clear-cut customer journeys that they've defined through their business. And because you don't quite fit that mould in a number of ways, you just fall through the cracks and you're essentially just a forgotten about number. And I almost bet money on the fact that everyone listening to this has had this experience where, you know, they just cannot get a sensible response from an organisation because they just do not fit the process. And I think the NHS suffers from that badly. But that's not to say, as I've said before, that the people that are working on the front line are probably under quite a bit of stress and quite a bit of pressure in some cases. And most of them, obviously with any organisation there's a few bad apples, but most of them are working pretty damn hard, and they're not getting the recognition for it because it's going to healthcare bosses and whatnot, and they're working within a crap system trying to do the best they can.